Fantastic. So I'm here with my good friend Jacob today, who has been kind enough to give me some time and to share his experiences of lockdown and how he is preparing for whatever we might be preparing for after the holidays. When I decided to do this for the first time, there was really no one else that I thought of better to do the first episode with than you, Jacob. It feels, I was thinking about it this morning, I can't believe that I've only actually known you for a year, really, isn't it? Because we only met at Institute last year. And it seems an awful lot longer, actually, that we've kind of been in communication and I've been kind of following what you've been up to. I suppose that's mainly because you seem to have done so much in the last 12 months. You've had quite a busy year. So I suppose the best way to...
I drink a lot of coffee.
I suppose the best way to get started is really just for, if you don't mind, just to kind of tell everyone a little bit about yourself and kind of your background to education and how you find yourself in the crazy world that you do now and doing all the things that you are.
I teach primary computing for all the key stage 2 at a fairly large primary school in Cornwall in the UK. I never really planned to be a teacher. In fact, I never really had a plan at all of what I wanted to do. I kind of fell into it, really. I went back to my old primary school for work experience just after finishing college and never left. So I started primary school age 5 and I'm still there now, age 29. And nothing really has changed in that sense. I became a teacher. I learnt while I was actually working in the school. I did like an evening course 1 day a week to get my degree and then to get my teaching qualification on top of that. So I didn't even leave the school to go to university, which is a kind of weird situation to be in. But I kind of found out afterwards that was the head teacher at the time. That was kind of his plan. He knew my skill set was IT focused and he knew that the school was lacking that. So I think I was kind of led down that path, but I don't have a problem with that. I very much enjoy being there and having that opportunity to work hands-on with the children across a variety of different, technologies and ways of learning and ways of teaching. And I think when I became an ADE last summer, that gave me an opportunity to reach out beyond just Cornwall. I think, being down here right at the tip of the country, it's quite hard to connect with people. And there aren't big events, there aren't big conferences. And becoming an ADE last summer really opened my eyes to the world out there. And the amount of ideas and inspiration that I've been able to absorb through that community has taken my teaching to a whole new level, I like to think.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's amazing how whenever you have that conversation with teachers, how often the story is, I fell into it, or it wasn't what I originally set out to be. And I don't know if that's a case even more so with male teachers. I certainly know that it wasn't what I originally set out to do in terms of qualification, but I think in the back of my mind or in my heart, I always thought I wanted to work in schools or I wanted to work with kids, but maybe as a 17-year-old lad coming out of high school, I didn't feel that I wanted to, I want to be a primary school teacher. I went off and did a business degree. My first degree is in marketing. So I went and did that, and after about a year, kind of knew it wasn't what I wanted to do long term, but managed to select my electives so that I could only actually go into uni 3 mornings a week, and then managed to work in a bit like yourself, my old school, worked in their after school club for 2 years and got some experience there, and then finished my degree and went back to the same school to do a teaching assistance post for 2 years before going to do my teacher training. So similar kind of route, but
similar path, isn't it?
And then the whole technology side really was not on my radar at all. It was only 6 years ago. My head teacher happened to send me on a course, and I came back and said, this whole iPad thing will be great, but you need someone to lead it. I don't actually remember going and saying, I think I should lead it, but that's what happened. And 6 years later, we are. So
I think sometimes the best things happen without planning. Like you kind of fall into things, or your life takes you in a certain direction. You don't necessarily expect it or plan for it, but
absolutely,
that's quite often the best thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm going back to school after the summer, and for the first time, I don't have a class to teach, and I don't really know where that's going to go long term. But as you say, we just have to kind of give it a go and see what happens, and what will be, I suppose.
Yeah, it's going to be a big change, isn't it?
It will be. It will be.
Yeah,
and
interesting.
It's what I've wanted for the last couple of years. It's kind of what I think I've needed in terms of giving up the class teaching responsibility. But there are bits that I'll certainly miss, and even to kind of prepare things over the summer, I'm kind of missing a wee bit. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but for everyone, it's going to be a busy year, I think.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
No one quite knows how it's gonna go yet.
No, exactly. I think for a lot of teachers, that's causing an awful lot of stress and concern over the summer break, and it's been really difficult, because I think for a long time now, teachers have just wanted to know what they might be going back to, and I think as school leaders and head teachers and management, it's been really difficult because they've not known, we've not known what's happening. So I think
no one seems to have the answers yet.
No, I think teachers have found that really difficult. So yeah, as you said, you became an ADE last summer, and in the last year, I don't know if you've slept for the last year, because you just always seem to be busy.
Not a huge amount.
Doing something. You've obviously got your Smashing Apps YouTube program. 7 episodes you've done of that now, 7 or 8.
7 Smashing Apps and a couple of live ones.
Yeah.
I think when the lockdown happened, because people aren't necessarily in the classroom so much, there wasn't such a need to do that at the moment. There wasn't such an interest in that. Yeah. But I think when schools are back to a bit more of a normal situation, I'd like to resume that again, and find out what's happening.
Yeah, and then your quick tips videos have just kind of taken off. Yeah,
the quick tips, they're still going. I figured everyone can use a little bit of inspiration on their iPad and learn a few new tricks and a few new tips. Absolutely. And they started off, very, very simply being for my colleagues at school, because we're quite new to iPad. Our staff were only given an iPad a year ago.
Okay.
Right before I became an AD, actually, a few months beforehand, they were given iPads. So it's a huge learning curve for them, and their confidence initially was very low. Mm-hmm. So rather than doing, a half-hour training session every week or whatever, I thought, let's just try and make it really short and snappy, and they can watch it in their own time. And that worked really well. And then people started sharing them a bit, and I started posting them on Twitter. And now videos are getting thousands of views each day, and people are sharing it and recommending it to other schools, and it's absolutely mad how it's kind of blown up.
It's just that little.
It's quite exciting.
Yeah, it's just that little nugget of information that allows people to go off and explore in their own ways and use things in their own way. It just kind of gives them that starting point. Yeah.
They're not complicated. They're little simple bites, and I think my idea has been to make it like kind of a little spark of an idea, not the whole idea, not the whole process, but a starting point, the first few lines of a sentence, and let the colleagues, everyone else, finish off that sentence however they see fit or what works best for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, as you know, the work you've done has certainly inspired me to kind of get a bit creative and try and do something. So that, the idea for this program was really, or this show, if you want, was really, how are you feeling in the back of lockdown? How have you coped with that? But then also, how are you doing things, and how are you preparing for that return to school? So I suppose we'll start with, asking, how are you? How are you on the back of lockdown? What was your experience of lockdown?
It's been interesting. It's been, obviously everyone's in the same boat, and that doesn't happen very often. It doesn't matter what job you have or how wealthy you are or where you live, everyone's in the same boat. And everyone for those few months was confined to their 4 walls they lived in. I think being down in Cornwall, I was very lucky to have, nature right outside my door. We can go walking down on the beach, we can walk around the hills and the engine houses and the mines. And we've had a lovely chance to kind of get back to nature in many ways. And my fiance and I really enjoyed doing that. I have found it's very hard to actually concentrate on work at home. I think, setting apart a working day from 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock is very difficult when you're at home, because there are distractions. And before you know it, I'm kind of reasoning with myself and saying, well, I can go out for a walk now while it's sunny and then do a bit more work later. And then after a few weeks, it kind of becomes, what time is it? What day is it? Am I working now? Am I having home life now? They've become very intertwined. And I've found that I'm, getting everything done that I want to be getting done, but not in a linear block of time. I'm not necessarily sitting down on my computer at 8 in the morning and getting everything done in one go. But I found that works really well. So I tend to wake up quite early in the morning, about 6 o'clock, and I'll spend a couple of hours first thing in the morning over coffee, getting some work done. and then I know that I can kind of relax in the morning, sit in the garden, do whatever it might be, and then come back to it again later in the day.
Okay.
I've also found that a lot of our online learning, Key Stage 1 aren't using online learning system. They're using a website that I built in the school. So that website needs updating. And obviously, in order to have work ready for the week ahead, a lot of that needs to happen on a Sunday. So I've been finding myself doing schoolwork on a Sunday quite often. So I'm then extra mindful to make sure that I'm giving myself some time back during the week to kind of make up for that. So it's been, I don't know how you found it, but I found it quite hard actually delineating what is my time and what is school time.
Yeah, I mean, I found it really challenging, as you say, just knowing when you're working and when you're not, because I found that because of I still had class teacher responsibilities, last term, and also had my kind of e-learning IT role as well. So I would start every day with a meeting with our IT team, which was led by our head of IT. So that was a 9:30 meeting every morning. So I tried to put off starting until 9:30 if possible. So I was able to have quite a leisurely start, make sure I had some breakfast, showered and things like that, maybe try and get out for a run. But we kind of told our parents that the tasks, because our VLE is automatically set to push out tasks at 9:30, we kind of decided that would be our starting time for the working day. So I went into that meeting at 9:30, which would last half an hour or so. And then I wouldn't stand up. That would be it for the whole day. And before I knew it was 2:30 in the afternoon, 3:00 in the afternoon. And all I've really achieved is maybe a couple of Teams calls. We didn't do the whole live teaching thing in our primary school. Anyway, I know our senior school did a little bit, but we decided to go down pre-recorded content and releasing that on a timetable. And that worked well for us. And, different things will have worked for different schools and different people. So what I found was it took me a few weeks to get into the routine, but I really had to have all my lessons and all my content and all my instruction ready for Sunday night for the whole week. That's kind of how I tried to work. And we use Shobi as our main workflow solution. So it was great being able to load everything into Shobi, schedule it, lock it down, and then we use a VLE called Firefly to actually communicate those tasks with children and parents. So I tried as much as I could to get everything ready so that Monday morning I knew everything was automated and everything was going out to the kids.
It was good to go.
Yeah, and of course sometimes things didn't schedule properly or didn't unlock properly, so we had to kind of keep an eye on that. And then we also had scheduled pastoral calls. So we did do some Teams calls with the children, but they were more kind of light-hearted pastoral calls rather than actually trying to teach. So, and then of course in my IT role I was trying to manage everyone else's difficulties and problems. And I think what became clear to us quite quickly was that our IT team are based at our senior school, which is on a different site about a mile away from our primary school. And I think our staff have just gotten used to having me and communicating with me and trying to fix everything through me. So I was getting all the phone calls, the WhatsApps, the emails. But at the same time, we've got a fantastic IT team of about 7 or 8 technicians down the road, working remotely. So it was trying to encourage people to get into the habit of working with the IT team and, submitting tickets to them. And, they were getting a response within an hour, 3 hours. Things were being solved.
Good.
So we're very lucky to have that resource. And I hope that that's something that will come out of this, that IT resource will be seen as a more whole school solution.
Yeah, I hope so.
And they will become more aware of what we're trying to do at the junior school as well. So it was a struggle, but I think everyone has made a tremendous amount of progress and has learned an awful lot.
For something that we've never dealt with before, I think it has been handled really remarkably well by everyone involved. The children, staff, parents, everyone. It's been a challenge for every party, hasn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, parents, for us certainly, wanted live content initially because they saw their schools doing live content, and I think they thought that might be I don't want to say an easier option for them, and that they could pop us down and we would not entertain them, but deliver.
Yeah.
I think the flexibility of what we offered did work for most of our families very well. So
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good
I certainly don't want to do it again, though. I'm keen to get back.
I do miss it so much.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And just actually having that shut-off point of going home and being able to say, right, I'm home, work's at work, and I think that's something we can all appreciate a little bit more. Were there any particular struggles? We've talked about kind of work-life balance, and actually, what would you say? What came up that caused issues or concerns? Would you say?
I think for us, a lot of the problems were right out the gate when we kind of caught wind that schools would be closing. So I think we were told by the government on possibly the Wednesday that we were closing on Friday, and the Monday of that week, we had a meeting, myself and the SLT team, and we said, look, schools around the world are closing. We're losing pupils. A lot of them are staying at home.
Yeah.
So we need to have a plan that we can let our pupils know of before they all start dropping school. But the problem we have is that we're in quite a rural area down here, and a lot of our families don't have great access to technology at home. We don't have one-to-one iPads. We don't have devices that children can use. And a lot of our families might have a smartphone between the whole family, and that might be their access to IT.
Yeah.
So we knew straight away that we couldn't do live lessons because the majority of children would be unable to access them in real time, because you can't necessarily guarantee that you can use your mum's smartphone from 2005 at the right time. It doesn't quite work. So we decided that we'd have to be realistic and not go overboard with the challenges and learning we were setting.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to use Showbie so that they can log in at 9:30 in the morning, just like your children, get their tasks, and then go and do them in their own time during the day. We have regular Google Meet video calls. If children make it, they can, which is amazing if they do. And we have communication all the time with our teachers on Showbie.
Yeah.
But we don't have set times of the day where they have to sit down and learn, because we just didn't think that was feasible. And that was a real mindset change for a lot of our staff, to say, actually, we're teaching, but we're not teaching in real time. We're not going to see the children as we're teaching them. We have to provide the resources so they can go away and learn themselves. And that's such a challenge, isn't it?
It's huge.
Such a challenge.
Especially working with young children.
Way.
I think it perhaps comes more naturally for pupils who are working in our senior schools and are preparing for life after school, where that workflow might be slightly different anyway, and they will take more responsibility for that. But when you're working with primary age children, it's a completely alien approach to learning.
It is.
Yeah.
We're finding that we've got about... So
No, you go.
Oh, we're finding that we've got about a 75% engagement at the moment, which is, after 13 weeks, remarkably high.
Especially...
That's children,
especially coming so close to the summer holidays. I mean...
Yeah.
I think a lot of schools have found there's been a real drop towards the end of term. I was just reading something today, and certainly it reflected what we experienced. And I think, what we needed parents to remember was that if we'd been in school, what would we have been doing in that last week of term?
Yes, exactly.
And children shouldn't necessarily miss out on that just because they're not coming to school.
Absolutely.
So 75% I think is a fantastic rate to be hit.
We're really, really proud of that, because it's a huge engagement. And okay, the children aren't spending 6 hours a day learning, we know that, but they are still learning, and we're in the middle of a global pandemic. The whole world has gone absolutely upside down. So the fact that our children are still communicating with school, they're still engaging in activities that we're setting, we count that as a win.
Yeah. So what helped? What do you think caused that success? What was the biggest tool, or the biggest success story, or the biggest success perhaps even to come from this experience?
I think it was just being realistic and not trying to overcomplicate things. We use Showbie on and off in the school, so we knew that was the tool to use. And Showbie itself is great because it's quite friendly. It doesn't try and do everything all at once, but what it does very well.
Yeah.
So on those last couple of days before the school closed, I went around to every class and showed the children how it worked, and got them to log in on our iPad trolley, and made sure everyone felt comfortable, and gave them all the details of our plan. So none of the children, read the plan on an email at home. They all knew it from someone they know from school. And I think that's really helped, because straight away we had them on our side. We were honest with them and said, look, this is going to be strange for everyone, but we'll do the best we can.
Yeah.
And back then we didn't know if it would be 3 weeks or 3 months we were closed for.
Absolutely.
And so we had to be realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was a big point, the fact that I genuinely did not think, perhaps I was naive, but I did not think for a moment that this closure would have lasted till the end of term.
No.
We had, I think a bit like you, probably the same week, I think we found out on the Tuesday evening. So yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, you found out before we did.
Yeah, that we were closing on the Friday. And the weekend before that, I was due to have taken 24 children down to Manchester for a football tour. And that tour was meant to last Thursday through to Sunday. And I think I only cancelled it on the Wednesday, Tuesday evening going into the Wednesday. So, I mean, as close to that, we genuinely thought we were going to get away with this and that it was going to be safe. That it was that short a period of time that we had to prepare for, as you say, a whole new approach to school. And trying to get communication out as quickly as possible. And we were quite lucky in that we only really had a couple of weeks or so of closure before our Easter holidays. So we, were very honest to parents and we said, for these 2 weeks, we're going to try and do what children would do for homework and maybe a little bit extra. And then we'll try and get a formal timetable out and, you can follow that if it suits you and try and do as much as you can. But it was that message of trying to, and the children didn't accept, children wanted to do everything well and wanted to do the right thing. But
of course they do.
Just trying to say to them, just do what you can do, and do what works for your family. And I think that was a really important message to get across.
It is important. At the end of the day, we're living in such bizarre times that, education, despite being incredibly important, is not the most important thing right now. The children and families' well-being is the most important thing. And if they can't engage with their schoolwork, but they can keep themselves safe and look after their own physical and mental well-being, teachers can help them catch up in September when we come back to school. Right now, their safety is key.
Absolutely. So kind of thinking ahead to the end of August, September, at the moment, what does that look like? What are you guys doing to prepare for that? Is there an answer
there? That's a great question.
What are you expecting to be doing?
We break up a week tomorrow, so we've got one more week of school days left. And at the moment, the plan is that when we come back in September, we're hoping to be able to have one afternoon of the week of the school week where the school's closed. We don't know if that's going to be possible or feasible, but I think the SLT are very keen to have an afternoon for the school to be closed, firstly for cleaning and health and safety, but also to allow teachers PPA time, because teachers are entitled to half a day PPA. And in the normal situation, I cover PPA for the Key Stage 2 teachers going to class teaching computing. But I can't go from class to class when there are bubbles. Because then suddenly I could be a vector for spreading things throughout the school. So the plan at the moment is, if that's a feasible option, that's what we'll be trying to do in September, but we don't know yet. And we're desperate to find out from the council if we can do that, so we can let parents know as soon as we can.
I know.
But in a practical sense, for my role, teaching computing involves an iMac, keyboard and mouse, or an iPad, both of which involve a lot of touching and a lot of feeling and potentially a lot of germs. So we're looking at getting some wipes that we can use on the iPads, because we share them throughout the school and we need to keep them being used. But we've been struggling with our Mac Suite, because you can't necessarily use a wet wipe on a Mac Suite keyboard because it will damage the keys. So we found online some silicone covers for our keyboards. So they're about a £5 each. We've ordered 40 of them. And hopefully they fit. If not, we've bought a lot of silicone keyboard covers that don't fit. But the idea is they're going to clip over the keyboard so that the children can then, after the lesson, get a wet wipe or whatever it may be and wipe down the keyboard, the mouse and the table, so that the next class can use it. Because otherwise, you'd have to get member staff cleaning it every lesson or only using it once a day, and that's not feasible. So, again, it depends if we can do social distancing, if that's still going to be a thing in September. At the moment, the government are saying that our bubbles don't have to distance each other. If they're in a bubble, that's okay. And being in a computer suite, you're sat side by side most of the time, so that's a bit safer anyway. But the reality is that we don't know. There's so much uncertainty, isn't there, at the moment?
Absolutely.
And, we're all desperate to get back.
Yeah.
We just don't know how that's going to look. I don't know about your school, if you've made plans for.
We've made plans,
already
and we've communicated those with parents, and we're very fortunate in that we've got quite a lot of outdoor space. So I think our outdoor space is going to be critical in trying to get as many of our children back full time as we can, as soon as we can. We've kind of gone with a traffic light system, and at the moment when we broke up, we were in that kind of red phase. We're going to stay in that red phase regardless of what changes the government make for at least the first couple of weeks of term, just to make sure that our systems work and we've got enough toilets and the one-way systems are in place where they need to be. But we do hope that what we're really hoping for is that the 2 metre social distancing mark can come down to 1.5 metres even, or if it was to come down to 1 metre, we'd be quite confident we can get a lot of, if not all of our children in.
That would be good.
Time. The fact we've got the outdoor space means that if that's not possible, we might be in a position where we can offer children, if they're not able to have time in the classroom with their class teacher, they might be able to have days outdoors doing some outdoor learning with other members of staff. It's just trying to work out if we've actually got enough staff to do that as we want to.
Yeah, of course.
But that's where, our management team would all be outside, I'd be outside. So, like you say, we just don't really know at the moment.
No.
But I'm quite confident that we will be in a pretty positive position come the end of August if we can get that social distancing marker down to 1 metre.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, we just have to try and get things back to normal as soon as we can, as of course, as long as it's safe. My greatest worry.
We get some back normality where we can.
Exactly. My greatest worry is really our very youngest children who are making transitions from what we would call primary 1 and 2, so really our infant stage, into middle primary, which is a huge jump anyway. For us, it's a geographical change to move to a different building, but developmentally and academically, it's a huge jump at the best times.
It is.
So I've been at home for the last 5-6 months. It's going to be really quite something. So I think our focus for the foreseeable future will be on social interaction, and that's just trying to make these children and adults as well feel safe back in school.
On that transition note, our plan is on our first day of reopening, we're going to open with this year's classes and this year's teachers, and they're going to have a day with their old teachers in their old classes, because they haven't had that goodbye. They've not had that chance to empty their drawers out and to do all of the stuff you do with your teacher on the last day.
Exactly.
So we're going to have, hopefully, the plan is the first day in our current classes. Obviously, year 6 will have gone. But all the children that are there will be in their current classes, and then the second day back, we'll move to our classes.
That's a lovely idea.
But we're too formentary, and we've made the decision this year not to mix up the year groups. So one class will stay as that group into the next class, because we just didn't think that's one step too many. They don't need that as well.
For various reasons, we have had to have a few shuffles this year. And obviously, staff move around. But actually, it's a nice idea trying to keep at least for that one day to kind of be able to have
we've actually got members of staff who've moved on now to other jobs in other schools, but they've kindly agreed to come back in for that day as well, to just have that sense for a little bit. We had a colleague who left us just before Easter, and we had this big plan for like a big leaving assembly, and I'd spent 3 or 4 days before that making a farewell video involving all the staff, and we never got a chance to have that moment. So, got a very long-term member of staff who's gone now, and the children haven't had that goodbye, so we're going to get them back in as well. And we're going to try and get these commemorations and things just so the children have that it's not like everything suddenly changed. It's a bit more gradual, perhaps.
A bit of closure on that as well. That's nice.
Closure.
So kind of thinking even longer term, what do you think will be the biggest, if you want, result from this closure? What's going to have a significant impact long term? Is there something that you're going to take from closure and you think will have a positive influence long term into how you do things? Obviously focusing on technology particularly or specifically.
It's a good question. I personally hope that technology is used far more confidently in class. I think all of our teachers have had to embrace technology now, and they've, in doing so, learnt a huge amount.
Yeah.
So it's all stuff we know they can learn. They could have learnt it before, but quite often you need a push to embrace it fully. And this has been that push. This has been a complete push for everyone, which is wonderful. That's what you need. And I'm hoping that when we do come back, teachers will feel more confident using their iPad in class to model learning. There'll be hopefully better communication between the class and the parents at home, because we've got tools like Shobi now that are working. Yeah. And we can envisage continuing to use Shobi as the year goes on, even though we're not necessarily using it from home. We're still going to have that connection in and can message the teacher and what's going on in class as well. And I think having that relationship between the teachers and the parents with the technology involved could be quite profound, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hope our school will use Shobi far more effectively than we have done. I mean, we've had Shobi for a number of years, and in our upper primary it's been used well, but during closure we've used it from middle primary upwards, and I've never opened up parental access to Shobi until closure. So we've got this kind of mismatched situation where some classes have got parent access, some classes don't have parent access, and then of course some children have gone on to new classes with parent access and some haven't. So I think from end of August we will switch that on for everyone, and hopefully that will help for staff and parents to appreciate that the feedback you can give through something like Shobi is far more powerful than the feedback we were giving in Jotters previously. And actually, for teachers, it's okay not to have months and months of evidence of work in Jotters, or certainly for it not to be marked in Jotters if there's evidence of feedback in Shobi. And
absolutely, that change in feedback is a good change. It's definitely positive, because it provides such a rich environment. Leaving a voice note for children is so much more interesting and meaningful than just writing out the same thing again and again, isn't it?
And that transparency as well, between school and home, and people seeing that working, document that progress. I certainly hope that's something that will continue. I
think education's never going to be quite the same again, and I think that's a good thing. Personally, absolutely. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, but we'll see what opportunities come up, and how they are embraced, and hopefully technology is used for the right reasons.
Definitely. I think the big worry is that we go back and teachers very quickly slip back into their old habits, and just go back to doing things. Now they've got their whiteboard, and now they've got their photocopiers, and they just slip back into the old routines. But hopefully the progress they've made in the last 3 months will prevent that from happening.
I hope so.
So
it'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely, and just see where we are in a year's time and how different that looks. So what's your big focus for next year, for the next academic year? What's the big thing that you're going to push on, or that you think is going to be taking up all your time, or your big priority?
It's a good question. I haven't necessarily got any specific goals at the moment. I think setting a goal at the moment when things are so in flux doesn't quite feel right. One thing I started last year that I didn't quite get a chance to see through to the end was connecting our school with other schools around the world. And giving children that perspective from different countries and different cultures, different teachers, different pupils. And we made 7 or 8 really good connections with other parts of the world, but I really would like to push that a lot more this year. And I think now everyone is so much more comfortable using Zoom and Teams and WebEx and all of these things. I think that will become easier. I think that connection will become easier. And so I'm really hopefully quite keen this year to connect the children I work with to other children around the world, and share those experiences and learn from each other. I think that's perhaps quite a achievable goal.
Absolutely. Certainly one of my big projects for the last year was our global collaboration project, which I talked about at my showcase institute last year, trying to get families to compare their family histories, and that just hasn't kicked off because schools have been closed for so long, and obviously there've been bigger priorities in schools, but certainly we'd we'll try and kick on with that next year as well, and hopefully it'll come to something
Definitely. I think it'd
actually.
be really good to launch that next year.
And actually comparing experiences during lockdown might be something that actually is worth investigating as well. Definitely.
Because it's like a time capsule, isn't it? The whole lockdown period. In the future, hopefully this doesn't happen again. And, in 20 years' time, those children are going to have lived through something which their children are not going to have to live through, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Documenting this is going to be interesting.
I mean, this is the longest school closure we've had. Our school wasn't closed as long as this during World War II, which was something that I found quite remarkable. So, I mean, it's a real moment in history to look back on and reflect on in years to come.
Absolutely.
So, I don't want to keep you too much longer, Jacob, because I really appreciate the time you've given me. But just really quickly think about the summer holidays, and actually just something really light-hearted, if that's at all possible.
Yeah.
Also, at the moment, we are in the middle of the ADE Festival of Learning, which is doing a good job to try and make up for the fact that we're not somewhere sunny at the moment, enjoying Institute. You've been quite heavily involved in that already. I've been really bad. I've only taken on a few sessions so far, but I'm looking to get stuck into it this week. How's that been for you? What's the feedback been from?
It's actually been lovely. I'm finding it quite hard to catch a lot of the sessions live because I'm perhaps in school at the time or doing other things, but I'm able to replay them and watch them kind of at my leisure. And it's been really interesting. There have been some great ones on augmented reality. There was a great one on gamifying learning the other day. And Martin's done some great ones on shortcuts. Which
I took that one,
And it's been lovely hearing from people talk about something they're passionate in. I think it's been, you get a lot of training opportunities and people delivering things because they have to, but this is people delivering things because they want to and because they're passionate about it. And it's been lovely seeing a lot of those sessions being shared beyond the AD community and to other people as well, because I think that's such a great way of learning is by looking at other teachers and seeing what they're doing and picking up bits and bobs, from what they do. That's why I was quite keen to share my session on Sunday about making a quick tips video. I figured I'm going to make it anyway. It's just going to be a screen recording and me commentating on it for an hour, but a lot of people watched it weirdly, and I've had a lot of feedback saying that they found it really helpful and that it's kind of inspired them to go on to try new things themselves. And I think that's what it's all about. If you've got a passion for something, being able to share it with people who are interested, no one's forced to come to any of the sessions. You can choose what you're interested in. It's like a big pick and mix, isn't it, of lots of interesting things.
And I mean, I think it's really important for teachers this summer to take a break and, really switch off. But we know what we're like as teachers, and actually quite often getting ourselves stuck into a project like this one is how we switch off and, relax a little bit.
Yes, it's something for ourselves, isn't it? Rather than something that we have to do, it's something we want to do. Exactly. And I think with the whole Festival of Learning, the sessions are things that we want to do, which is nice. Definitely. I'm hoping that when school finishes, we'll be having a lot more time to engage in things and to switch off a bit. And I'm sure for you now, you've broken up as well. You'll have more time to engage and also have more time just to switch off and relax over the summer as well.
Definitely. I mean, I've kind of taken we're 2 weeks into our summer break already.
Okay.
And I've kind of taken that just to switch off. I packed away the office, put it all away. I went up north, played some golf, nice. The iPad away for almost a full week, and then I've started to kind of slowly dip back into it over the weekend and pick up a little bit. But it will be nice just to have some time to get outside and see people a little bit and do some stuff. I mean, I'm certainly not going very far this summer, not as far as I planned, but
no,
it'll be nice just to take some time. What about yourself? Have you got anything that you're particularly looking forward to this summer?
Yeah, got nothing planned. Nothing planned at all. Normally I spend the summer going to gigs and festivals and stuff, and none of that's happening.
No.
So hopefully out in the garden lots, doing some gardening, going down to the beach and enjoying the fresh air and the sunshine, hopefully. And having that chance away from screens and a chance to kind of switch off, I think is really important. And having a detox for a week, like you said, sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, the thing I'm looking forward to most is my haircut, my barber's appointment next week. which I cannot wait
I've got
for.
one on Thursday.
Oh, it's awful. I had to shave the beard
Yeah.
off yesterday because it was actually just getting so long, and it was quite hot here yesterday. I thought I can't take it anymore. So now I've got
No.
a short beard and long hair, and it's just, yeah, I need to get shot of that quite soon.
Yeah.
I certainly can't
I'm
go
looking
back to
forward to
school.
Thursday and getting mine sorted.
Yeah, until that's fixed.
It's the little things, isn't it, nowadays?
It is that you just don't appreciate and don't recognise how much you appreciate. But yeah, I mean, that's what, I've really enjoyed that half-hour chat. It's been nice just to
It's been lovely. It's nice catching up.
because we don't actually get many chances to touch base. Institute obviously last year, and there's obviously always Twitter, and we ping back and forward. But it's nice just to check in and have a proper chat and
Definitely,
compare
and just see each other's face and find out what's going on.
Yeah, it's remarkable how similar all of these situations are at the moment.
Yeah. I like that though. Everyone's kind of equal in this, which is really nice.
Superb. Yeah. Well, Jacob, thank you very much for that. I will share this with the community through YouTube and Twitter, and hopefully there'll be some feedback on it, and we'll get some more people involved in the coming days and weeks.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to hearing some more interviews with people in the future. Definitely.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks a lot, Jacob.
Thanks, Martin.
Cheers.